The Israel-Palestine conflict has largely become a footnote inside of Israeli politics. So if I look at Israeli political parties today and the rhetoric, with very few exceptions, I mean, there's like the Arab list and whatnot, Meretz, and as you said, sort of the left is largely dead.
Hmm.
People talk about security, but there is no political will to actually resolve the conflict.
Hmm.
Um, the intifadas are in the past. It seems to Palestinians that basically we almost have nothing to offer you. In the past, people had the ability to say that, give us peace and violence will end.
Hmm.
And now, while there are still, attacks, uh, they are a minority of cases and tend to be, few and far in between. Certainly, nothing like the second to further. Tend to be more lone wolf um, type attacks. How can Palestinians make the conflict relevant again uh, to Israelis, given that it impacts their lives significantly less? Um,
I think it would, from both sides, we need to bridge the media gap. We don't know what's going on in Palestine, in Palestinian territories. Um, we don't know of your struggles. And I think it's Israel's the duty of Israeli civilians who are aware to spread that knowledge, and it's the duty of it's unfortunately also the duty of the Palestinians to make that knowledge accessible. So um, I read a bit of Arabic, and so I'm able to look at stuff on Google, but most Israelis don't know that well Arabic. And so a lot of the news that's going on in Palestine, or for example, you and I have spoken about the fact that leaderships and people have actually gone against people, Palestinian people who chose violence because they also understand that this is the Israeli narrative. And they're like, we want to stop doing this because they're going to hit us and they're going to hit us hard and we just want peace, and for whatever reason you're stopping it, okay, whether for pragmatic whatever reasons. We are unaware of it. We don't see this. These are largely in Arabic. So if Palestinians could internationalize their media so it could be accessible to Israelis, for example, I could promise you that it would be my mission as someone who is, knowledgeable and wants to share this information and wants to debunk all these radical myths about Palestinians at large. I would do that. And I would hope that there are other Israelis that would do that. Yes, I would be called a traitor. And believe me, probably someone's going to see this video and they're going to call me a traitor. It's like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, I want to fight the right fight and the good fight. And me loving my country and me understanding that there are people who are just, that's not for me a traitor. That's just doing what's right. And, thankfully, we are living in an era of liberalism, and it's becoming more and more popular. And I think that could work. I also think that we could, try to look for more pragmatic reasons, right? So why is the status quo unsustainable? Okay, how would it benefit Israelis to find a solution for the Palestinians if we're not even looking at this whole, debunking and media gaps? We would just look at pragmatic reasons. So Israel's economy would strengthen. One, because we would not be spending so much money on security for the occupation and controlling and, the Palestinian people. That's one. That's already so much money. Instead of putting it there, we can put it into something else. Okay? So it's not that we're necessarily making more money. We're just now able to use the money that we already have better. So yeah, and I think it's to try to converse. So media gaps, conversations, and if we are looking at more pragmatic, just explaining to Israelis why they would benefit, why the status quo isn't sustainable.